to my channel. My name is Robin. Today I'm very excited about this video because I really believe that you're going to find it very useful when it comes to photography. Composition to me is the most important element when it comes to creating great images. It is more important than the kind of camera that you use, the brand of camera. You can have an $8,000 camera, but if you don't understand what makes a really good and interesting photo, somebody that is shooting with an iPhone 5 with a creative mind is going to just capture better images overall. So today I will be sharing with you 15 creative compositional ideas or tools that you can use to make sure that no matter what the conditions are, where you find yourself in, you will have some kind of idea, or you'll be able to come up with a concept that will allow you to create a unique image. So in this video, I will be providing you with very specific examples of all these creative ideas when it comes to photography. And whether you are shooting with your cell phone or with a professional camera, there's something here for everybody. I will be sharing with you my settings, how I took certain photos. I'll be giving you very specific tips, and some of them you will already be very familiar with. You'll be like, yeah, next, I already know how to do this. This is what I do all the time. But by the end of this video, I am very confident that you will at least walk out with one or two new ideas that maybe you've never even heard of, or maybe you have, but you completely forgot about it, and this will just be a really good refresher for you. So I'm very excited about this. Stay tuned and let's get this started. Okay, first up we have leading lines. This is a very classic composition, especially when it comes to landscape photography. So leading lines it's a line, but it can also be a curve that leads you to your main subject. So in this case, I used those logs that were straight on to those beautiful mountains at Moraine Lake. And you can just see how clearly it leads you there. Another great leading line is a road shot. So as long as it's leading you to an interesting subject, you can make it work. So for example, here I actually went underneath the Peace Bridge and I managed to capture that beautiful cityscape just by using the lines on the bridge. Next up is foreground. This is very important, especially when it comes to landscape photography, because it does tell a beautiful story. It creates depth in the photo. So here I use this log, and then you can see we have the snowy cabin and the mountains in the background. Make sure that your background is really nice. Here I just used these frosty snow flowers and the snow as a foreground. And then for this city shot, I didn't really have anything interesting, but I really wanted to show how far away I was from the geese. So I just happened to be wearing some cool Converse shoes and I put my feet as foreground. Then we have framing. This is great to do to your main subject. It works like when you frame a photo, it brings attention to it. It makes it a lot prettier. Here there was this framing of the horse, of his eyes. I just think it adds a little bit more mystery and interest to the photo. I used the wooden fence. It was just a better photo. It adds more mystery to it than just like a normal photo of a horse behind a fence. The subject for scale, this is when you add either like the human element, or it can be an animal, or it can be a tree, just anything that provides you with a sense of scale. It does make an image more interesting because, for example, in this case, you have this big majestic landscape, and I just wanted to showcase the relative size of everything. So I quickly went, I grabbed a hat, I grabbed my dog, I changed my shirt to add some pop of color, and I ran down and I put myself in the photo just to provide a sense of what I was looking at. Here, I also told my friend to scramble down the snow and go stand there because I really wanted to show how big and vast and spacious and calm this place was. So subject for scale is a really great compositional tool. Then we have long exposures. I love long exposures because it creates interest in the photo. It creates movement. For long exposures, you will need a tripod, a shutter remote release, and an ND filter so that you can do long exposures, especially during the day. So for this picture, it was a 75-second long exposure during daytime using my ND filter. And then next you can see an example of what a fast shutter speed looks like versus a 62-second long exposure. You can see the difference in the movement in the clouds, how it makes the picture smoother, softer. They're both really great photos and they have their own visual interests, but it just shows you two different perspectives for the same photo. Same with the train. One, I freeze the train as it's coming through the mountains, and then the second photo you can see that I'm actually trying to show movement and how fast the train is coming through the mountains. And then finally, you can use long exposures at night. For this, you just need your tripod. You need to time it with the traffic. Here I use those trail lights, so I just waited for traffic to be going by, and anything from 5 to a 10-second long exposure will get you those beautiful trail lights. Then you can also use a LENSBALL. This is a very creative little tool because it shows you an inverted image of what you're actually shooting. This isn't so easy to do. I actually had to manually focus on the LENSBALL. I had to set up my tripod because my arm length was way too close. And so it was trickier than I expected, but that's my only shot that I have. But you can always go to the LENSBALL Instagram page and look for a lot of ideas on how to use LENSBALL. So for trail lights, for reflections, for cityscapes, there's a lot of things that you can do with the LENSBALL. Next, we have zooming out. So for this, this makes it seem like lights are coming out towards you. So what you just basically do is set up your tripod and do like a 5 to 10 second long exposure. And as the exposure is going, you just gently zoom in and out the zoom ring on your lens, and then it creates this really cool effect of the photo coming out towards you, of all the lights coming out towards you. Then next up you have light painting. So for this photo I used sparklers, and I had my friend time how long it would actually take her to make a heart, and it took her about 3 seconds. So I set up an exposure of 3 seconds. I had her do a heart with the sparklers, and then it just made the photo look fun and vibrant and interesting. Another interesting tool that you can use are smoke bombs. Now here I had my friend jumping through the smoke bomb. It's very colorful. You can do so many crazy things with smoke bombs. You just have to make sure that you're not around a lot of people, because as you can see, it's a lot of smoke. We were all coughing. But you can buy smoke bombs on Amazon or at your local Army Navy store, for example, here in Calgary. But if you go on Pinterest, you can see all these really cool ideas on how to use a smoke bomb. Make sure you're holding your breath. Make sure you're not in a crowded space. You know, I like using color because I don't want people thinking that wherever I'm at is going up in flames. But there's so many unique things that you can do with smoke bombs. Using silhouettes is beautiful, especially if you're photographing people. Now for silhouettes, you really want to do it at sunrise or sunset so that the sun is at the horizon and you can properly silhouette your subject. You also don't want to use flash because it will actually counteract the whole purpose of silhouetting the person, because it'll counteract the light that's coming up against it. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to set up your aperture at over 8 so that you can get all the details. You don't want to bokeh it. And so for example here for this couple, I had it at about f16 so I could create that beautiful starburst coming in between their face and just insinuate their kiss. Next you have steel wool spinning. So this is super cool, but you have to make sure that you go with somebody that knows what they're doing. So for this, you attach a whisk at the end of a rope and then you stuff it with steel wool. then you light it on fire and you start spinning. But you have to make sure that you are covered, that your hair is covered, that your body's covered with non-flammable fabric, because you want to practice safety. You don't want to burn yourself. You also want to make sure that the location that you're selecting is also not flammable, that there's no trees or hay or anything dry. Preferably go to concrete or next to a body of water. Another thing that you can use is bokeh or bokeh, but this is just basically what you choose to focus on. Just set your aperture really wide. So in this photo, I'm either making the ship my focal point or I'm making the rope my focal point, but either way it gives the photo a different look because it gives you a different subject. So for here, my pregnant friend, the background was really pretty, so I actually did both shots. One where it's like you can see her and the beautiful background, and then the other one I just changed the aperture so that there was more emphasis on her and she would stand out by blurring out the background a little bit more. Then you have anchor points. So I like to use this with people especially. It's basically you create a lot of chaos, a lot of movement around, but then you make sure that your subject, your main interest is just still and it draws your eye to it. So for here, I had my friend stand absolutely straight for like 2 seconds as that bus was going by, and then your eye goes to her. This here is a combination of 2 photos. So I used my dog as the anchor point, and then I had the train go by, but I didn't want to have her off a leash near a moving train. So I took 2 shots, one of just her and then one of the moving train, and then I blended it in Photoshop. I did the same thing here. That's me standing on a rock, but as you can see, that long exposure was probably about 2 minutes long, and there's no way I can hold a pose for that long. So this is 2 blended shots, but the concept is the same. It's a lot of movement around me, but then I'm the anchor on this photo. I'm the main subject. Another great compositional tool is looking for reflections. So this could be at a peaceful lake. Here I'm Emerald Lake, which is famously known for its beautiful reflections. I like to go on windy.com and check the wind speed. Anything under 5 kilometers per hour will give you relatively nice reflections. Here is another shot I took at Wedge Pond. I checked windy.com again for this one to make sure that I was going to get crystal clear mirror-like reflections, and I went there for sunset and I managed to get this shot. Now, if you don't live near a huge body of water where you can just go photograph this is just a puddle on the edge of the sidewalk, and I got down really low and I managed to capture this perfect reflection of the taxi at sunset. So sometimes it can just be something as simple as a small puddle after a rain. And then finally, we have panning. So this is to showcase speed and movement. So basically what you do is you grab your subject and you slow down your shutter speed to about 1/40th of a second, and then you follow it with your camera. This is used a lot in sports photography to make things look like they're going really fast. If I had just frozen my dog in motion, it wouldn't have that same effect, but because I followed her, she wasn't even running that fast. But panning gives the impressions that she's going like 100 miles per hour. So this is a technique that requires a lot of practice. Perhaps go sit at a traffic light and then try to pan on vehicles. But if you manage to use it for animals or sport photography, it can give you a really cool effect. That concludes my 15 creative compositional tools that you can use in photography today. So if you are feeling bored with your style of photography and you want to experiment, maybe you've never tried smoke bombs or LENSBALL or light painting, or you've always just done portraits and you want to try landscape photography, I hope that inspires you to break out of your shell, try new things, keep it interesting, because repetition can be very boring and there's no better way to grow and to have fun than just to keep trying new things. Finally, I'll share with you one of my tips is I have in my car, in my trunk, I have a giant box where I have I have a LENSBALL, I have flashes, I have a hat and a very colorful jacket in case I think I need to throw a subject in and I'm wearing something horrible, which usually I am because I don't know anything about fashion. So if I want to use a subject for scale, for example, I will throw on my fashionable Instagram hat and a bold and colorful scarf, and then I'll just go and put myself in the photo and voila, suddenly it's a cute photo for landscape. I also have sparklers. I mean, I have a whole bunch of stuff in my car that's just all in one box. So when I get somewhere and it's not exactly what I was expecting, maybe I was going there to do a reflection shot, I have an arsenal of different things that I can do instead of in my car. So I just run in my car, grab my LENSBALL, grab whatever, and then I just try something else. I just roll with the punches. So always be prepared. And please leave a comment if you like this video, if you have other ideas, if you have any suggestions of what you'd like to see or how I can improve any future videos, that'd be great. So thank you so much. Subscribe to my channel. I will be posting more things on here, and follow me on Instagram. My handle is MOTHERPIXELS. So thanks again.